I've got my chef coat ready. Ooh, mini fridge full of Asahis. Today is August 19th and it's my mom's birthday. She would have been 59, but she passed away when she was 51. So I don't know why I keep wanting to say お母さんお誕生日おめでとう on video for some reason. In the spirit of my mom's birthday, I wanted to talk about my Hawaii work experiences that have shaped me with my business, and also I wanted to kind of touch on my culture, my identity, now living in the States. I am 31 years old now, so I've had quite a few jobs. I started working when I was 15 years old, and my friend she was at the time getting allowance, actually not even really allowance, she like lived with her single dad. She just had a lot of money, she was very independent, so she bought dinner for herself and all of that. This is the salmon I'm gonna eat tonight, which is kind of a lot. She helped me figure out what forms we needed from the state labor office, and she helped me get the signature. Well, actually the signature would be from my parents, because you have to be 16 in order to legally work without a parent's approval, and because I was 15 and dying to work because I had no money, my parents didn't give us allowance. They only gave us money when we got a report card. It was like $5 for every A that we got, and if you got a straight A's, then you get an extra $10. So we had 6 classes, 5 A's would be $30, but if you got straight A's, then you get an extra $10, so you get $40. But that's per quarter. Because of that, I really wanted more money to help me get my first job, which was Paradise Cafe. I definitely gained a lot of weight because we had muffins and these mini cookies that are like oatmeal and dark chocolate, and we were able to take a lot of food home that was gonna go bad that night. So if we didn't sell it, then we could take the rest home. So bring it home, and my mom loved it, and we would just have it as family a lot. After that, I worked at a Gloria Jean's coffee shop, which went bankrupt, and they told us the night before, we're going bankrupt and this is our last day. And we found out that day that it was gonna shut down and they were gonna bounce and leave town, I guess. And then after that, I lost my job just like that. And then after that, I got an on and off job working for Honolulu Surf Company, which is a sister company or one of the branches of Billabong. And I worked in Waikiki. And that takes me to moving to Seattle after I turned 18 and working for the coffee shop for several years. That on and off. Whenever I would go back home to Hawaii, I would work at Honolulu for a few months, 3 months, and then when I went back to school for college in Seattle, I would work at Seattle's Best Coffee as a barista. And Seattle's Best Coffee is no longer. I got some gold stars because we would get mystery shopped, and I even got my first ever promotion working there from a regular barista to a supervisor. And I'm such a good rules follower, and overall I listen to authority really well, and so I think I just never exemplified leadership skills to have supervisor positions. I enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot. Gloria Jean's, nobody called out sick, or hardly ever. Everybody was just so really disciplined and showed up. The food court was pretty much the same way. It was one of those places where I learned a lot about showing up, making sure you do your part of the work. I definitely owe it to a lot of those people that I worked with, where I learned the discipline and loyalty, legitimately caring about the product that you're selling, legitimately caring about the company that you represent. Moved back to Hawaii in 2011, and that's when my waiting tables work history came about. And I learned a lot about customer service. I learned about how reasonable some people can be for no apparent reason other than that they're hangry, because some people be super nice to your face and then they could tip shitty. some people could be super mean to you or very dismissive, but then they're like super fat tippers. It just kind of made me not be able to reasonably interact with people in a way. And I was also getting to that point where there was a lot of side work involved in serving, and realizing like some people just don't really want to do it and would just make you do it. I learned there that waiting tables was definitely not for me. I was getting really sad and getting very jaded. And I was also realizing that I definitely did not want to work with others. And so I worked at Karoni Grill as a host when I lived in Hawaii, and I started waiting tables, and they let me be a waitress without any serving experience because I could speak Japanese in Hawaii. So that's kind of how I got my foot in the door in the waiting table thing. And then when I moved back to mainland, I got a job at Benihana here, which kind of sucked in comparison because the chefs at the California Benihana was like so whatever, and the chefs in Benihana Hawaii was just like competition with each other. They practiced on their free time. They were trying to bring like new little things like lights and fun things to incorporate in their little show. Like they were devoted and they liked their job. And I worked at a hookah bar. I worked at a restaurant that was part of a department store, and I completely stopped waiting tables after I got my degree in 2015. Got a job as a legal assistant for a law firm in downtown LA. The same week that I quit, because the lady that I worked for just treated me so much different from the other the other assistant that was working there. She was so much kinder to her, and I saw it in her face. And just like several different times that she would speak to me differently, not because I made a mistake and whatever. It was just even nonchalant, like side conversations. She spoke with her completely different than the way that she spoke with me, and it was just disrespectful and unacceptable. And I was like, you know what? After 3 weeks, I was like, no, this isn't working out, so I'm quitting. In that same week, I got the job doing the 9 to 5, working as a forensic economist, and that takes us to today and my business. And when I lived in Hawaii with my parents, we had to speak Japanese at home. Although when I'm in like our separate bedroom, my sister and I would speak in English, and then my mom would pop in. She's like, "Speak Nihongo, Nihongo shabere." Yeah, at the time it was really annoying to always be scolded and to be yelled at if we weren't speaking Japanese in the house, because I would even complain like it was a hindrance to us being better at English because we had to speak a different language in the house, and that was why we couldn't do well in English, or you know, like I would just make stupid excuses like that. It's like, but now like as an adult, I realize how important that was to us. Otherwise we would have forgotten Japanese completely, which is so easy to do, even living in Hawaii where there's a lot of Japanese tourists. And you know, it's definitely an advantage for you to get a job in the hospitality industry, which is like the main bulk of that economy in that state. It's definitely a benefit to be bilingual with Japanese and English. Like even if you don't have that much work experience, you would definitely get some kind of job, get your foot in the door, because you can speak Japanese. As a Japanese person born in Japan, it's also like part of my identity, part of my culture, who I am, to be able to speak the language. And that's what takes me to today, where I feel like I really don't practice my Japanese a lot and use the language at all even, and I go days, months even, where I have not said a single word in Japanese. What's happening with the rice? It's not cooking. Hold on, let me unplug it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plug it in. Turn it on. 1, 2, 3. White rice. There we go. There are resources for me to figure out how I could use the language, brush up on the language, but I haven't been. And it's definitely something that is kind of scary to think about if I lost the language completely, because my grandma, who still lives in Japan, she only speaks Japanese, obviously. So it would suck if I am no longer able to understand or speak with her. It's okay if you're one of those people that have moved from your home country, or you are Japanese but you were born in Hawaii and you don't speak any Japanese at all. There's so many people like that in Hawaii. Like with any culture, right? If you're second generation, third generation, whatever, you could be a Hispanic person that speaks absolutely no Spanish because you grew up here. You grew up in the States and you didn't grow up speaking Spanish. So, but there's just something about your heritage. Even if you were born in a different country and you grew up in a different country, the fact that you identify with your heritage that's in your blood, not where you were born on land, it almost gives you either you're motivated by that to learn about your home country's language or you are ashamed of it, whatever it is. But for me, in my opinion, because I was actually born in Japan and I actually grew up learning the language and grew up speaking the language of Japanese, and then to spend 2/3 of my life speaking English, being scolded by my mom when I wouldn't use Japanese with her and in the house. It's just, I have like a lot of guilt and also fear involved in the fact that I haven't been practicing Japanese. My mom was a extremely powerful lady. She made a lot of decisions for us without saying that it was. The rice is finally working properly. That's with my oily ass hair. I have had a lot of work experience working in different industries. I am happiest now working for myself in my handywoman business. As far as my identity, my cultural identity, my heritage, and forgetting Japanese, and all of the work that my mom has done by yelling at us to speak Japanese in the home and instilling in us that we need to remember this language because it's part of our identity and because we have to, otherwise we're gonna be unable to communicate with her. I thank her for instilling that into me because I still hold this fear that I'm gonna forget it because I haven't been practicing it as much. Once the vaccine is there for COVID next year or even the following year, instead of visiting once a year in Japan, maybe I'll try to visit twice a year. With my business growing and me getting better at skills, I should be able to afford that. Yeah, maybe I'll do that instead of investing in a house. I can even like live there for a month and do like handyman stuff with the handymen in Japan. They're called bendiya-san. Thank you so much for watching Unfiltered Thoughts. Subscribe. You just click on the little button that says subscribe. It's free. And I will see you in my next video. Peace. And this was filmed on August 19th, 2020, which would have been my mom's 59th birthday. お母さん、お誕生日おめでとう。全部やってくれたことありがとう。すごいありがたいです。ビデオ撮ったの。'Cause you make me feel like a piece of